In this video, I'll be demonstrating the very powerful technique of diaphragmatic breathing. And before we start, I want to ask you not to change how you're breathing at all, and we're going to do a little bit of a test. So I know that the second we think about our breathing, we tend to change it. But just see if you can just keep breathing the way you've been breathing, and let's do a little test. So I'd like to have you put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach, and just breathe as you have been breathing the rest of today. And just notice. Notice which hand is moving the most, and notice which direction your hands are moving. So I'm going to pause for a second while you just do a little bit of a test. So notice which of those hands is moving the most, and then which direction is that hand moving. Now, if your chest hand is moving the most, that is what I would call anxiety type breathing. And that's a more shallow type of breathing and is definitely not diaphragmatic. Now, if your stomach hand was moving the most and your stomach hand was moving out as you breathed in, right? So that as you breathe in, your belly blows up as a balloon and your hand moves out, that's diaphragmatic breathing. Now, some people, when they are super anxious, not only is this hand moving the most, but the bottom hand might be moving in when they breathe in. So that would look a little bit like this. And that is a very anxious way to breathe. So we are going to reverse that completely. And as we do the diaphragmatic breathing, I'm going to ask you to keep this hand as still as possible. So this part of your chest as still as possible, and we're going to exaggerate the movement of your stomach. Because as you breathe in and your lungs fill up, right? If you are breathing deep into the bottom of your lungs and your lungs fill up, they will push your diaphragm down, right? The diaphragm is here. They will push the diaphragm down, which pushes your stomach out. So as your lungs fill up, they need room in your body. And then as you exhale, your stomach comes in. So let's just practice that for a moment. So keeping this hand as still as you can, take a deep breath and really imagine blowing your belly up as you breathe deeply into the bottom of your lungs. Now, for some people, this will come very easily. For other people, this might really be challenging, and that's okay. Over time, this will improve, and you'll be able to diaphragmatically breathe more naturally. So let's add a count to this, and I'd like you to count in breath to the count of 4 to 5, and out breath to the same count, 4 or 5. And again, do something that's comfortable. It's slower than usual. It's a little bit deeper than usual, but you're not straining to do this. And my rhythm may be very different than your rhythm. So let's start together, and then I'm going to give you some time to establish your own rhythm. So again, the chest hand, keeping the chest nice and still, and the belly hand really expanding with that belly as you breathe in. So breathe in to the count of 4 or 5. And then a nice slow exhale. And then an inhale. And an exhale. And do this a few times on your own with your own rhythm, counting in 4 to 5, count out 4 to 5. And I would like to point out a very important thing about the exhale. When you are breathing in, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then out 1, 2, 3, 4. So you want the rhythm of the in-breath and the out-breath to be consistent through the entire thing. You don't want to breathe in quickly and then finish your count to 4. And you don't want to exhale quickly and then finish your count of 4. Or the opposite, go really, really, really slowly and then breathe in that last gap. So you really want to have, in particular, the out breath nice and even through all 4 to 5 counts. As you take a nice diaphragmatic breath in and out, I'd like to ask you what you're noticing changing in your body. So just take a moment to do a nice big diaphragmatic inhale and then an exhale. And just notice if anything feels different for you. And please comment below. You can pause the video if you want, or just you can come back or at the end. Let me know if that simple amount of diaphragmatic breathing shifted how you feel, and if it did, what were the shifts? And then I'd like to walk you through extending out the exhale. So if you really want to relax, if it's time to lay on a hammock in your backyard, whether it's literally or figuratively, but you really want to slow yourself down. And this is very useful prior to falling asleep at night or anytime during the day where you really want to get into an extremely relaxed state. Do the same nice diaphragmatic breath in to that count that's comfortable for you of the 4 to the 5, and then have your exhale be 1.5 to 2 times as slow. So I'm going to do one with you right now. And again, this is my rhythm, which may not be your rhythm. And it also can be hard to talk and effectively diaphragmatically breathe to a rhythm. So I'm going to be silent for a moment, but I will use my hand to demonstrate the inhale and the exhale. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So keep that up for a couple of breaths at your own rhythm. Breathing in, let's say you're breathing into 4. Breathe out to somewhere between 6 and 8, and just simply make sure that that exhale is nice and even throughout the entire exhale. And while you're doing this, you're also keeping your chest still, and you're really exaggerating that movement in your stomach. And then notice as you do that, what happens for you physically. Now, sometimes when the exhale is nice and slow and really extended, sometimes I'll have people say to me, oh, I feel lightheaded or a little bit of dizzy. And yes, it causes your blood pressure to decline, which is part of the parasympathetic nervous system kicking in to help you relax and possibly fall asleep. Now, if you found this diaphragmatic breathing difficult and you feel like you still aren't quite sure, that's fine. Simply practice it. Simply shifting the focus from what might be happening in here to your breath is going to be grounding and calming. So don't get anxious about whether or not you're doing the breathing technique correctly. And another way you can practice this, if you really are finding that you have a hard time with diaphragmatic breathing, you can actually lay down on your back flat and put a pile of books on your belly and just practice really expanding that stomach as you breathe in and letting the books fall. So that can be an interesting practice for people who are really having a hard time getting that coordination going, to give the lungs the room they need in your body to expand with the in-breath. So just to give you a little incentive to follow through on the 3 weeks of this course, I wanted to share some testimonials that I received from people who took this when it was in a course site. These techniques, while they are very, very simple, really, they're very simple techniques, They all found them invaluable in terms of navigating stress and anxiety. And then I also want to invite you to a free webinar that I am offering right now called Rewiring Your Brain for Joy and Confidence. The link for this webinar is below in the notes underneath the YouTube video. And the webinar covers self-directed neuroplasticity, what that means to you, how you can really rewire your brain to move away from the negativity bias. So feel free to register for that free webinar. Link is below. And now I'd like to share with you my recommendations for how you practice the diaphragmatic breathing. So my recommendation for you is that 4 times a day, you do the breath to the count of 4, inhale and exhale, 4 rounds. So do 4 inhale, exhale, right? And then do it 4 times a day. Takes just a few minutes. You can fit it in during a coffee break. You can fit it in when you go to the restroom. It's very easy to work that into your day on a regular basis, and don't try it only when you are particularly stressed. In fact, when you're particularly stressed, it might be very difficult to do. So it's better to practice it consistently throughout the day so that soon it becomes your habitual mode of breathing. It becomes a really natural, regular rhythm so that you can be breathing diaphragmatically most of the time without even being aware of it. So for the mini series, week 1, your first week, I'd like you to practice that diaphragmatic breathing 4 times a day for 4 rounds each time. And please tune in for week 2. I will be going through grounding exercises. And if you missed the first part of week 1, which is a short talk on the benefits of diaphragmatic breathing, I will link that for you here. Make sure you watch that. And I'm really hoping that this little 3-week mini-series really helps you to access physiological feelings of safety, calm, gets your whole brain functioning better, lowers your stress levels. And I'd love to hear from you. So you can comment under the YouTube video, give me a comment, let me know how this was for you. And I'll see you next week. And if you liked this video, please do give me a like. Helps a lot. Encourages me to keep on producing content for you, and please subscribe to my channel.